Welcome, everyone. Today, we'll turn the CRM from a contact graveyard into a predictable revenue engine. We'll use fresh benchmarks and practical plays you can start in the next 30 to 90 days. This session is especially for RevOps, CRM managers, and founders who feel their CRM is underperforming. Welcome, everybody. My name is Patrick O'Leary. I am VP here at PMG 360. Along with me is Kurt Martin, co-founder and CEO of PMG 360. Hello, Kurt.
Hi, Patrick. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today. As Patrick mentioned, I'm the CEO of PMG 360, a media marketing services company that's been in business for a little over 19 years.
Okay, quick speaker notes, Kurt. Our runtime, we're looking to run about 30 to 45 minutes. We'll have a Q&A at the end. Slides and recordings will be shared after this session. During the discussion, make sure to drop any questions in the chat if anybody has any chats. We'll pause twice for polls and leave time, like I said, at the end for Q&A. Our goal is to give you a concrete plan to make your CRM drive pipeline consistently. With that, Kurt, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, so thank you again for joining us. We're going to push our first poll today. Poll number 1. Which statement best describes your CRM today? Is it a contact graveyard? It supports sales, but not marketing, or the other way around. It's a revenue engine already, or other. Share in the chat very specifically what's unique about your setup in the chat if you select it. So we'll give that a couple minutes. All right. Thanks for voting. It looks like we have a tie. Our top answer is a one-sided engine. So CRM's great for sales while marketing flies blind. This is what we see as one of the number one patterns behind stalled pipeline velocity. The other top answer is contact graveyard. What we basically see when this has happened is, our customers have effectively built 2 CRMs inside the same platform, one for sales and one for marketing with different definitions, different dashboards, marketing campaign data and buyer signals, they don't get over to the sales team. And then sales activity isn't getting back to the marketing team, right? So there's no shared Lifecycle or SLAs. So, that leads linger in the pipeline. They go stale and they get, and marketing gets pushed back because they're saying, sales is saying that the leads aren't ready. Pat, what are you seeing on the one-sided engine?
I mean, marketing can't prove what's working, so the budget tilts as to what's loud, not what's effective. That was always I will say this, for us as a company, we've talked about this in other webcasts, other podcasts, sales and marketing have to be in sync. It's something, like I said, that we've talked about over and over and over again. So you have to have that open dialogue. And, that's just from the personnel standpoint. But here we're talking about actually within the CRM system itself. So, if sales is seeing one thing in the CRM system and marketing is seeing the other, and you could say, oh, well, we talk to the marketing people all the time, or we have a great sales marketing relationship. But if on the technology side, you're still not, walking hand in hand, then how really connected are you?
Yeah. So are you seeing like sales chasing unprioritized leads? And the real opportunities aren't getting addressed. And, on the leadership side, we see volume, but the velocity is stalled. Is that do you see any of that?
I mean, honestly, my answer was contact graveyard. I mean, yeah. I'm a sales guy. That usually means that signals aren't getting captured, segments aren't nurtured, and dormant demand just never gets a second chance.
Yeah.
It's not a system it's a system problem, not so much a tool problem, and that's something, that needs to be fixed ASAP.
Yeah, so you're not alone, with the contact graveyard. I agree. Signals aren't captured, segments aren't nurtured. Demand never gets a second chance. That's what we're going to work on today is a 90-day fix to this problem. We can move on to the agenda, the next slide. So today, our agenda is we'll be covering aligning marketing, sales, and customer success in your CRM, building automated lead scoring and lifecycle workflows, and CRM migration versus optimization, which paths fit your organization. Also, we'll be providing details on an anonymized case study, and we'll have a short Q&A at the end. So what we see, the reality of why your CRM feels like a graveyard, basically you told us disconnected data and tools, no lifecycle automation or SLAs, nurtures aren't segmented by intent, reporting does not equal decisions. Most teams, don't have a tool problem. Again, they have a system problem. The result is that, your CRM database grows, but the revenue doesn't support the growth. You're not getting closed opportunities down the line. As a leader, you need to allocate budget with confidence, right? And if attribution and visibility is broken, that makes that decision very difficult. And what you'll do is you'll just default to what shows best in what they call the loudest channel, not the best one. So our aim today is to move from these disconnected tasks and segmentation to a single operating system or engine for growth. Pat, what do you see in the day-to-day?
I mean, day-to-day reps experience this as a low context or slow handoffs. I mean, leads will come across without a why now. So follow-up is usually pretty generic and late. Oh, I saw that you were interested. Well, how are they interested? Or allow me to introduce, PMG 360, for instance. I mean, the pipeline hygiene looks fine on paper, but, the velocity and prioritization suffer because the reps are chasing who shouted last, not who's most ready. And I think that is so important because you'll hear it, in the bullpen or in the queue, like, oh, here's a hot lead. Well, what makes them hot? Oh, just because they showed some interest today? That doesn't necessarily make them a hot lead. What makes them a hot lead is how they're engaging with your platform.
Clear signals, right? Clear signals that they're hot, that they're showing, and they're looking for the next action, right? So that would move us to the cost of a graveyard. So here's an example of what a graveyard CRM looks like, right? So you have 50,000 contacts. You can generate 5% MQLs, marketing qualified leads, which equals 2,500 leads. Of that, those MQLs move to SQL at a 30% rate. So that gives you 750 SQLs. Those are opportunities. You have a closed 1% of 150. If you have a disconnected graveyard CRM, your MQLs go to 1,000, your SQLs go to 300, and your 1 goes to 60. So it's I think a 40% decline because you just don't have your engine and system in place. So it's basically a silent, it's a tax on growth, right? So you have the same contact volume, very different outcomes because of the age and the engagement decay. You don't have lifecycle and nurture. Your customer acquisition cost creeps, and your metrics go sideways. So, from a leadership point of view, you're overpaying for attention because you're underinvesting in the actual engine, the system design.
Right. Well, I'll tell you from the sales side. I mean, the math that shows up is fewer meetings.
Yeah.
Right. Thinner late stage pipeline. And noisier forecasts, which I know there are certain people in our organization who love noisy forecasts. Yeah, there's nothing No, I didn't think so. And I mean, every percentage point lost, from MQL to SQL or SQL to Opt is compounded pain when it comes time for the end of the quarter. And, there's quota. It's quota time. All of those percentage points lost compound themselves. I mean, give us earlier, cleaner signals, and we'll turn the same database into conversations with cleaner comments.
Yeah. So, let's move on to like what causes these types
Root
of
causes, yeah.
graveyard CRMs. You have undefined life cycle stages and exit entry rules. You're using scoring for vanity as opposed to, or it's missing. You don't even have it. Your nurtures are not targeted. You have a one size all approach. Your bottom of the funnel content gaps stalls sales, meaning you're not nurturing the content you have at the bottom of the funnel. And, there's no alert. So very slow follow up, right? So, the reps, be honest, like I see this a lot. Like our reps weren't getting alerts and they needed follow up. They needed to follow up quicker. So getting those alerts, that's really important. Getting all of these other components addressed is super important to ensure that you have the actual engine to drive growth with the CRM. Otherwise, you're not getting a return on your CRM investment. Pat?
Yeah, I mean, let's face it. We're now getting down into the real weeds here. It's like you said, the root causes. I mean, process debt shows up as manual steps and tool sprawl. Our reps are juggling tabs and trying to guess what the next steps are. There's no recycle plan. No recycle plan means leads bounce back to marketing with no orchestrated path, right? And without alerts or SLAs, I mean, the fastest responder is luck. It's not by any type of design.
Yeah, I think that recycle plan is really a good one to focus on too. Having leads bounce back and not doing anything with them, that's a killer. That's a major leak in your pipeline. So I'm glad you brought that up. Let's move on to the blueprint for database to demand engine, right? So we start with intent and content. That moves to capture and enrich. We then score and segment. We lifecycle nurture. Sales alerts and SLAs go to the team. That generates pipeline and revenue. And we constantly produce feedback back to marketing, so it becomes a virtuous cycle, right? So think in loops, not in lines. Content, what we see is creates intent. The CRM enriches and scores. So when you are setting up your CRM, you want to make sure that you're enriching context where there's data's missing. You're also scoring based on a legitimate model, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. Nurture advances those opportunities through the pipeline. Alerts speed the handoff and the follow-up. That's so important. And then sharing reporting closes the loop. Any feedback improves the engine over time. Mm-hmm. So, and that basically do this and it'll lower your customer acquisition cost and it'll compound engagement from basically your own channels, what you're already paying for. Instead of spending more, fix the problem. This will lower your CAC and improve, your return on your own channels. Pat?
Right. Yeah. And on the sales side, I mean, sales owns the signal response. They'll use alerts, honor SLAs, and convert momentum into meetings. We just talked about that on the last slide. I mean, we commit to feeding back real customer outcomes with sequences, book meetings. Content shows up in our notes, in our call notes. I mean, the feedback tunes scoring, so we chase the right people faster. This is all stuff that, sales has to own on their end.
And it makes sales is going to be invested in this process because they're going to make more money.
Right.
At the end of the day.
Yeah. Let's face it, the ultimate accountability for a salesperson is
making money.
Making money for the company and themselves.
Right. So next we're going to look at what good looks like. And I wouldn't even put it in parentheses. I would say what good looks like. Before you had scattered tools, manual tasks, stale lists, and lagging reports. After you implement this engine plan, you'll have a clean life cycle. You'll have behavior scoring, segmented nurtures based on position within the pipeline, real-time alerts, and dashboards that basically are going to drive action and provide better decision capabilities, right? So, this is a great start, but after that 90 days, you're still not done, but you've built out the engine that will compound over time, right? So, again, talking a little bit about the various parts about the scattered tools, stale lists, lagging reports, right? This is often related to CRMs not being configured correctly when they're originally set up. This is a common problem. We offer a CRM audit to help customers understand how where their holes are and to get them kind of back on track. The 90-day, right? You're going to be starting with a good strategy, and then your leadership is going to have better insight into the velocity, and they'll have like one source of truth, so they can budget and track in reality as opposed to fuzzy pipelines, which salespeople are notoriously bad at doing. So this gives marketing the ability to shift their campaign dollars to like compounding assets, things that are working, and to develop better bottom of the funnel content that basically keeps paying, meaning it's working, it's driving conversions, it's driving opportunities.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, reps from the rep side, reps log in, right? See who to call and why, right? Less admin, better dialogues. Okay. Alerts replace guesswork. Bottom of the funnel assets are one click away in the CRM. The old Glengarry leads, as we used to call them. We want to keep them close. We want to make that easy to access, right? I mean, the result is a higher contact to conversion and, more SQLs and better forecasting confidence, which I know you certainly appreciate.
I was just going to say forecasting confidence. Yeah. I love.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at that 30, 60, 90-day CRM to revenue engine plan. Key takeaways are, 30 days, stabilize and signal definitions. So you want to define what a lead is, scoring, reactivation, alerts, and SLAs. 60 days, you're going to be looking at orchestration and nurture. So you're going to do 3 tracks for nurturing, routing of the leads, bottom of the funnel enablement, and weekly reporting. And then in the 90-day time period, you're going to scale and prove. So you're going to create your dashboards. You're going to create another scoring model, version 2, to improve, to refine. You're going to develop your recycle play so that leads don't just go into that graveyard and never get nurtured again in the future. And then, management is going to be able to rebalance budget to invest in successful areas. So let's jump to the next slide because it has a more detailed explanation.
Yeah, I mean, it's a detailed strategy plan for you to use or convert your CRM into the revenue engine that we just talked about. Right.
So we're just a reminder, all slides and the recording will be shared after the session, but here is the 30, 60, 90-day plan for you. This gives you a roadmap on how to execute, and you can do this yourself. Obviously, we can help you do this, but this is something you'll have and you'll be able to build on your end. Again, like to get in a little bit more detail on this, so what you're doing in that first 30 days.
Yeah, I was going to say, Kurt, let's do 30, 60, 90.
Yeah.
We got it rolled out. Let's break it out for them.
So what you're doing is you're building like an operating system. So shared lifecycle, simple scoring, reactivation motion to create early momentum. All of this will give you stage clarity, deal stage or lead stage clarity, and real signals so that you can invest your time and your effort in, with confidence, right? In the 60-day period, you're looking at journeys and personalization. So you're going to create the 3 nurture tracks, top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, and bottom of the funnel. You're going to make sure that all of your workflows and routing is set up correctly, meaning leads are getting to the right people, feedback is getting back to marketing, SLAs are agreed to between sales and marketing. You're embedding the bottom of the funnel assets where reps work. So in HubSpot, for instance, we have a documents area that the reps have access to all of the all of the content and assets that are required for their sales roles. You want to make sure you have all of the content your reps need for the bottom of the funnel conversations. And then marketing shifts from campaigns to compounding programs. So improving, compounding, right? We talk about 20% improvement all the time. At 90 days, we put, you're basically putting results in front of the team. So you have executive dashboards that follow velocity and conversions by segment, meaning by top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel. Your scoring version 2 is tuned to outcomes, meaning so you're going to look at how your version 1 performed in each stage, and then you're going to refine your scoring to improve the outcomes. And then you can balance your budget. Now you can move money around from, to Lifecycle and content where it makes sense, because now you have the dashboard and the metrics that you need, and leadership has the ability to plan for growth.
And that type of plan, that type of confidence, that does trickle down onto the sales side. I mean, for the 30 days, from the sales side, reps get behavior-based alerts, whether it be the contact has visited pricing page, if repeat visits, they download a case study. I mean, with clear first response SLAs and next step plays, that means faster time to first to touch and more meaningful conversations from the same database. I mean, I've been in organizations where, there's been nothing like this in place. And a lot of times, it just used to be that people just used to tell us it was a numbers game, smile and dial, cold calls. So I'm just amazed about how far we've really come, in the last 20 years, both on the sales and the marketing side. So, as far as the 60-day goes, with routing by persona scores and segmented nurtures, handoffs stop breaking. Okay, we'll review a marketing qualified lead to sales qualified lead weekly, with marketing to fix friction in real time. This gets the reps, like what we just talked about earlier, it gets them those bottom of the funnel assets, are one click away in the CRM. 90 days, a little further out, sales leadership coaches, that's where, people like myself, have an opportunity to sit down with maybe new reps or introduce new lines of products. We will coach, the SQL to the operation, to the opportunities, then opportunities to win. We get an opportunity, we get a chance to really sit down with the salespeople and kind of go over the whole process. I mean, we'll standardize the recycle play, so there's no dead ends. Forecasts, again, they improve because we have the prioritization. I was hoping you'd help me say that. With real signals, not just volume.
Prioritizing. All right. So that first touch has become so important. So speed to touch is really, really important, right? So like you said,
but knowing why as well.
Yeah, meaningful conversation. So having full details of the engagement with the prospect. The feedback to marketing weekly, giving them feedback in real time so that they can create assets that are then available to create better conversations is also vital. And no dead ends. I don't accept the dead end answer. Like, oh, well, that's just the way it's always been. I watched something about Steve Jobs. That's a ridiculous answer. So you should always be looking for how can you try to do it better instead of, well, that's the way it's been done. And, a lead goes into a dead end. Not acceptable if you're in a decision-making role. So this will help you do that, basically. So we're going to jump to our first our second poll question. This is midway through. We're going to try to keep this moving along. Which lever would most improve your pipeline in 90 days? Clear lifecycle and SLAs, behavior-based scoring, segmented nurture tracks, bottom of the funnel content build, reactivation program. So pick the one change that would move it. Yeah, so sorry, I was looking at my notes. So pick one that would make the biggest impact on your team, right? So clear lifecycle, SLAs, behavior-based scoring, segmented nurture tracks, bottom of the funnel content build, reactivation program. So we'll give you guys a couple minutes.
I mean, I don't want to influence the poll, but I know where I'm going with my answer. I'd like to see how on
Why don't you
target
tell
I
us, and then we'll tell you what the answer is.
am. I mean, I think it's answer A.
It is answer A, actually. It's Lifecycle and SLAs. So, everybody agrees with you, which is not surprising. It's one of the biggest unlocks that you can do. It's a foundation. When your team is fuzzy on what a lead is, an MQL and an SQL actually means, everybody is kind of chasing their own definition and chasing their own indicator or loudest channel, meaning, oh, this looks good for me to my report, right? So what you want to do is you want to get everybody on the same page, lock the definition, and get everybody to own what the definition is, and then you want to layer this. You want to build a score that allows you to identify leads that are showing intent or interest, and then match the agreed upon definitions.
Yeah, from the sales floor, clear life cycles plus SLAs kills that MQL ping pong. Reps understand who to call, why now, and how fast. Okay. So next up, we'll draft version 1 together, simple rules we can run this week and tune in the next 30 to 45 days. How does that sound? And there we go.
Well, I love that ping pong, kicking, leads back and forth. That I love that expression as a metaphor. So, the first part, life cycles and scoring. All right. So life cycles. What is a lead? What is an MQL? What is an SQL? What is an opportunity? What is one loss, right? So an example of a lead to MQL is it's ICP is correct for the company, ICP is correct for the role, ideal customer profile, and some sort of qualifying action. They registered for a webinar like today's. They went to a pricing page. They did a demo request. If any of those criteria aren't met, it's basically a lead. It's still a lead, but it should be nurtured. It's not an MQL. When you get into MQL to SQL, you're talking about an MQL. It meets the MQL that has had human validation. So your sales reps have reached out. They've had positive connect with the prospect. They are, able to gather that there's actual pain from the prospect. And this is kind of the band: budget, authority, need, and timeline. If they're not ready, they should be marked as recycled and then with a reason and then routed back so that they're nurtured, right? No dead ends. This keeps leads from going into an empty bucket, or like a full bucket of dead ends. Scoring version 1, that stays simple. Like I'm a firm believer in keep it simple. So fit, which is industry, employee, number of revenue, or revenue. I'm sorry, employees, number of employees or annual revenue. And then ICP role. When we talk about role, we're talking about job function: sales, marketing, finance, IT, operations, procurement. And then behavior, pricing, that's basically what action has this lead taken. They visited the pricing page. That's a plus 10. They went to the demo page. That's a little bit higher. It's 12. They went to, they downloaded a case study, or actually they reviewed a case study. That's plus 8. If they downloaded it, I would score that a little higher. A webinar is attended. That's a plus 9. They were a repeat visitor. That's a plus 6. They clicked on an email, plus 3. So there's a lot. And then you have to account for what's called decay, right? So if a lead sits in your pipeline for a certain amount of period, you should take scoring points away, which you can build into your scoring models in most CRMs. So after 30 days, you should take away 10 points. You should do a negative 10, right? The next part is you need to figure out, okay, what happens at each of the thresholds? So like greater than 25, that gets routed to sales. Sales gets a notification. If it's 10 to 24, that goes to a middle of the funnel nurture. And if it's below 10, that's a top of the funnel nurture. They just get newsletters, they just get content and things like that, right? So what your leadership team should be looking at is how to standardize your CRM fields, right? Persona, segment, source, campaigns, things like that. Making sure that your dashboards live inside your CRM. Like I'm a firm believer of that single source of truth. So I like a CRM that can give you and integrate with all the various systems and allow you to build dashboards in your CRM, and then running 30-minute weekly reviews on velocity, not just volume. So, yes, you can generate 100 leads, but how those leads are getting through the pipeline. Are you getting meetings? Are they moving through their pipeline? Are they advancing?
Right. And on the, from a rep standpoint, this becomes who to call first and why, right? So A leads, your quote A leads, hit a hot queue with the last behavior summarized. It's pricing page plus case study yesterday. So the opener is specific and it's not generic, right? It doesn't make it a hot lead because it just came in. It makes it a hot lead because, it came in with the context of they've been to the pricing page and they've downloaded a case study yesterday. Okay. SLAs are the starting point, right? The inbound A lead first response time should be within 15 minutes, right? Re-engage, like the AB within 2 hours, right? New B lead, same business day. So A is, hot in the queue. B is re-engaged. So that's a same day, right? They should be contacted. And if we miss the SLA, the task escalates and then the manager needs to see it. Okay. So again, we talked about that disconnect. You want to make sure that leads are not decaying in the pipeline, right? So if it did somehow slip through, you got to get a manager involved to see how and why, right? Not necessarily somebody's fault. It might be there's some kind of issue with, again, what we talked about in the beginning, the system, right? It's not the tools, it's the system. So recycling rules, okay? If somebody doesn't book, you mark not now, right? You capture the reason for the next visit, whether it be budget, timing, some type of gap. They just need to know why the person wasn't ready at the time. All right. And then you can auto enroll them in the right nurture. So, you might have a specific way to approach somebody who said, oh, it's a budget issue, or it's a timing issue, or somebody at the stakeholder level wasn't completely convinced. That prevents the pipeline from rotting and keeps the salespeople focused. Right?
Yeah, I think the key there is the response time, right? That everybody should be under 2 hours, in my opinion. First lead A leads, within 15 minutes. A B reactivation 2 hours. B leads. I think everything should be less than 2 hours, right? The other, the recycling is so important. I think it should be more about the feedback. This is about feedback, right? So saying not now triggers a workflow that auto enrolls that prospect in the right nurture based on where they are in the funnel, right? So the salesperson reaches out, the prospect says not now, the salesperson updates it in CRM, reason for not booking, not now. That then
that's paramount, Kirk, because a not now is not the same as a no.
Even a no is not a no to me. So I think that what you need to do is you need to utilize the CRM capability for the salespeople to give feedback to trigger an auto enroll in the right nurture. That keeps those leads, again, from going to a dead end, right?
Yeah, that's good to know. That's not really a reason why we're looking for the feedback.
It's vital. It's super vital. It's vital. So let's move on to metrics to watch in the first 4 to 6 weeks. All right, so you want to keep an eye on first response time, A, B, any type of leads, right? It's super important that the SLA adherence % is met. You want to look at MQL to SQL by score band, right? ABC. You want to look at how many of those SQLs get to meeting, what meeting rate, and SQL to opportunity for A leads versus non-scored. And then, the last part, early deliverability, reply lift from reactivation. This is a little bit further down the road, but this is something you definitely want to be looking at as far as a key metric so that you can make sure you're on the right track. Pat, any feedback on any of those?
No, I think you hit the nail right on the head, actually, especially on the early deliverability part.
Yeah. Okay.
You know,
So let's move on to what good looks like KPIs, right? So an MQL to SQL rate of 25 to 40%. That's pretty high, but you should be looking to hit this range. These are ranges you should set as your goals, as your targets. SQL to opportunity of 20 to 35%, opportunity to one of 15 to 25%, stage velocity faster than 15 to 30% versus your current baseline, and then reactivation of 8 to 15%, right? So that's, you know, those leads who came in, didn't engage, not now, whatever it is, you were able to get them back in at an 8 to 15% rate. So you want to calculate that against your annual, your ACV, and look at the motions. You want to look at these ranges, and, you know, like, you can adjust these. These are what we think you should be shooting for. If you don't think it's realistic, focus on what you think would get you a functioning engine within 90 days. Okay. So what we are looking at is what, marketing is going to report on, like who owns, right? Who owns all of these things? So marketing is going to report on movement and influence, not just the lead totals, right? So attribution really matters. We'll also flag segments when they're doing that are beating above or below the target, so that we can shift our content strategy to focus on assets that are performing better.
right. And you just talked about targets. Okay. So from the sales side, who do sales targets? Sales target first response SLAs, right? Sales needs to target the connection rate and meeting set rate on scored leads. So that's really what, from the sales side, it's the response SLA, the connection rate, and the meeting set rate on scored leads. Manager scorecards includes SLA, adherence, and conversion by reps. Okay. So yeah, you need to have a scorecard. And in this case, we're saying include SLA, adherence, and the conversion by the rep. If the velocity slows, then you got to diagnose, signal, skill, or sequence, and then fix the right thing.
So now we're going to look at this mini anonymized case snapshot. This is a pattern that you can copy, basically. So install Lifecycle, add scoring, re-engage dormant, alert sales team on real intent, and then tune by outcome. So this is very simple. Sales cycle, scoring, engagement, alert, tune. Keep it simple, right? So what you're seeing, what we saw in this case study is the paid channels plateaued, and they had a dormant CRM. Their CRM was not configured correctly. So what was done was they set up Lifecycle and scoring, created 3 nurtures, they created a reactivation motion, and they implemented alerts for their sales team. That resulted in an increase in stage velocity, less time to first touch vital, and an increase in the number of SQLs. So, within a quarter, the customer acquisition costs went down and owned engagement went up, meaning they were spending less money to get better deals.
Now, listen, I understand that we have to keep this moving along, and we still have a few more slides to talk about. So I'll just make my comments pretty quick and concise. I mean, reps start the day out with the alert cues, right? Talk tracks reference the last content touched. Okay. That results in more first meetings, cleaner stage progression, and steadier forecasts, which has kind of been the theme throughout today's webinar. From the sales side, we keep coming back to that. But at the end of the day, that's where it's important enough that we need to keep hammering it home.
It's an engine. That's the whole point.
You got to get those, yeah. And then it's a recyclable engine, which is the beauty of this. It's actually just running on its own CRM. So.
All right. So next we're going to move to, so we are offering all event attendees a free CRM and email audit. If you would benefit from that, feel free to click yes or no, or we're also offering a content and or SEO audit. So if you click yes, we'll schedule a short working session, send you a quick intake. If you click no, we'll still send you today's template, so you'll get the slides and you'll get everything else so that you can run it in-house.
And from the sales side, we'll translate that plan into rep-ready alerts, tasks, and even talk tracks. So there's no extra homework on your end for your team.
Right. So we're going to be slowly wrapping up here. So how PMG 360 empowers go-to-market teams. We help with CRM setup and optimization. We are HubSpot Solutions partners. We're affiliates of Zoho, High Level, and Pipedrive. We do SEO audit and roadmap and content strategy for your ideal customer profiles. We help with Lifecycle, email, and newsletter automation. We have a database of 230 million permissioned contacts worldwide. Those are clean, updated hygiene data that we utilize for our customers' programs. And then we offer very fast implementation and measurable results and outcomes.
All right, now I think let's open it up to the Q&A. I mean, ask us anything: lifecycle, scoring, nurtures, dashboards, handoffs. We're ready.
All right, so I'll take the questions on like strategy and governance and budget and change management. Also, like if you were debating like rip and replace or replatforming versus optimizing what you already have, your existing CRM. I'll talk a little bit about trade-offs on that.
All right, I'll handle process, playbooks, SLA, and the day-to-day workflow questions. If you want specific call openers for certain signals, ask away.
Right. So, all right. So we're prioritize questions that help the most people. Yeah. So basically, your Q&A. We have somebody curating them. So we'll go through them. We'll figure out, okay, what makes the most sense, and we'll also follow up with written answers after the session. So the first question we got is, should we re-platform our CRM and optimize what we have first? I would say optimize first, right? Fix your life cycles, your SLAs, scoring, your dashboard inside your current CRM. Rip and replace is an option. Like we do rip and replace a lot. But really we'll only suggest it if the data model or the integrations can't like support the lifecycle automation that we're talking about in that 60 to 90 day period, right? So what you want to look for is within your CRM, can you standardize objects and fields, right? Like, is the pipe in for web and email signals there in your current CRM? Can you build the dashboards that you need to see this engine is working and make optimization decisions now with the current CRM? If just optimize it. If not, you should look at what your options are, and then start figuring out like a timeline to transition from one platform to the next. Realistically, a rip and replace is going to take, anywhere from 8 weeks to 90 days. Optimization is going to be much quicker, right? You could do some of that in 30 to 60 days. But like our engine plan today is a 30, 60, 90 day plan. So you got to evaluate what you have. If it will meet your needs, we can help with that. We can help evaluate what you have to see if it meets your needs. And if it doesn't, we can talk about how to rip and replace.
Okay. For the reps, I mean, the CRM must be the system of action, right? This is what we've been talking about. Native tasking, alerts, click to call, logging, right? I mean, if a rep needs 3 tools to do one follow-up, then you have a workflow gap. Optimize it, okay? And if the core must-haves are missing, like routing SLA timers, alerting, consider migration. But avoid running to our CRM systems. That kills adoption. That basically goes against everything that we've just talked about here today, okay?
Yeah, I wouldn't ever run 2 CRMs. I would look at integrations first. And if you have 2 CRMs, kill one.
Right.
Merge is what you should do. All right. So the next question is how do we re-engage a dormant database without wrecking deliverability? This one is near and dear to my heart. Email is in my DNA from the early foundation of PMG 360 in 2006. So first you want to segment by fit and engagement, last engagement, right? Warming up your sending gradually is super important for ISPs. They're looking at how many emails you're sending based on your IP and your domain. So you shouldn't blast the entire unengaged database. If you have 50,000 contacts and 40,000 of them are unengaged, sending an email to them is going to get your IP and your domain blocked by spam filter companies and potentially ISPs. There's really only three at this point: Google, Microsoft, and Verizon. So make sure that you're keeping it under 5,000. A lot of times you could start with just like 1,500 and then double it once you're seeing good deliverability. I would also run a multi-touch reactivation plan where you're, instead of opting out, you're allowing for opting down. So lowering the number of messaging they get, basically lowering frequency. And then you really need to have somebody tracking deliverability, replies, and engagement, because the ISPs they're doing it. That, a good CRM will do a lot of this for you, like HubSpot and some of the other platforms we are affiliates with do a lot of this and will help you with tracking engagement. Some of them will even auto manage opt-outs and things like that, so that auto opt-out unengaged, so that you're not damaging your IP or your domain reputation, right? And then, those who engage, you can re-enroll in nurture, right? And then the last thing, what you want to do is, at some point, you want to get rid of them, right? You gotta implement a sunsetting policy. So you want to remove those persistently cold contacts out of your database.
Well, to pick it up prior to sunsetting, you said the magic word there, re-enroll. So prioritize, re-engaged AB leads to a fast response queue, right? You could use short just use short openers or subject lines. Saw you back on pricing. Are you comparing tiers or seating plans? Okay, and you mean measure time to touch, time to first touch. Excuse me. So you measure the time to first touch, and then meeting set rate from reactivation. Treat this like a fresh demand or a fresh lead, not so much like a leftover.
Yeah, that is a fresh lead. Somebody who reactivates, that's a good lead. Somebody who might not be in the buying motion when you first reach out to them is not uncommon. Often people will engage and they're not ready to buy for another 60, 90, whoever knows, even 6 months. So always treat those reactivated as
right. That goes back to what we said before. A not now is not necessarily a no.
Right. All right. So the next question we got: how do we prove ROI to leadership within 90 days? That's pretty simple, right? So you're going to create dashboards, report dashboards for your executive team. It's going to detail stage, velocity, MQL to SQL, SQL to opportunity. You're going to look at how those activity influenced outcomes, actual close won by segment. You're going to set up success gates, right? So plus 15 to 30% velocity, X points in MQL to SQL for scored leads. You want to see how you are lowering CAC via the budget so that you can rebalance. You can use before and after cohorts. So you have your current stats, right? So set up your reporting. Okay, take those as the benchmark and then match against your post 30, 60, 90-day implementation to show what kind of compounding lift you've had from these new owned motions versus paid channels.
Yeah, kind of going back to the what we spoke about earlier. I mean, from the sales side, the proof is in the SLA adherence, right? The proof is in higher connection rates, higher meeting set rates, those A leads, the SQL percentage, more accurate forecasting. I mean, call out rep wins tied to the signals, pricing page alerts, meeting on the 24th. I mean, if an A lead performance lags, diagnose the signal, skill or sequence, and then fix the thing, fix it fast. But, and there's a part of me too that thinks, how can we prove the ROI to leadership within 90 days? Your sales are going to go up.
Numbers. Yeah.
Ultimately, all of this is going to lead to increased revenue.
Pipeline, it's a pipeline question. If you increase your pipeline, 100% and you close at 50%, it's pretty easy to start to show the effectiveness, right? So
I mean, we went through it as an organization ourselves. I mean, I'm not going to lie here. Like a lot of this was implemented by us, and this is how we found success.
So we're going to move to what can you do today? Like, what is your checklist for next steps, right? So next week, come on, it's Thursday. We know it's going to be next week. So you're going to finalize your life cycle and criteria. You're going to draft a scoring model, version 1, fit and behavior. You're going to build a 4-touch reactivation sequence or automation or workflow, whatever you call it. And then you're going to choose 3 nurture tracks: bottom of the funnel, top of the funnel, middle of the funnel. You want to do these 4 within 7 days, right? You want to take action, take massive action. This is a Tony Robbins thing. So you'll feel this engine start immediately, because once you have these things working, you're going to start seeing the effect of it right away, right? So finalize the life cycle, publish the criteria, green light scoring, and approve the reactivation copy, right? I think that will give you the ability to then start setting up some weekly check-ins with your executive team and just say, okay, look, here are our wins for the week. This is what we did. It's going to show momentum. That momentum it's a force multiplier. You'll see it. So that's what I would suggest as your checklist for the next 7 days.
Yeah, I mean, from sales activate the alerts and the SLAs, right? And then start those reactivation calls. No better time than the present. I mean, we'll report back next week with the velocity and the response time movement. But I think it's big to start those reactivation calls and, again, activate those sales alerts. Okay,
yeah, don't lead. Don't people in on the action right away.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
And hold them accountable. That's the SLAs and all of these other things. That's going to be key to getting buy-in from all team members. Mm-hmm. So our next webinar is
the next one.
Yes, our next one. Patrick and I, you guys get us again. It's from intent to revenue, SEO and content for high growth SaaS and services teams. This session, basically, we're going to be focusing on how to turn search intent into pipeline, that you can measure inside your CRM. Search has become very complicated with the changes within Google's core and spam update and generative engine optimization. Search is really, really a hot topic right now, and developing content for high growth is key, right? So we're going to cover how to turn that search intent data into pipeline so that you can measure it inside your CRM.
I'm just going to kind of toot our own horn right here. Client just got back to us. We've increased landing page registrations double digits. Double digits.
Well, that's great.
Tune in next time to find out what that percentage was. We will let you in on it.
Right.
But
love it.
That's not a blog. That's a lead gen tool right there.
It's meetings, right?
Yeah. So.
Right. All right. So that's it for today. Thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate your time. We'll just finish up again. You're going to be getting all the slides and the recordings after the event, and we look forward to seeing you the next time.
I appreciate it. Thanks, everyone.